Hello, we are Team 2. I am Ellen Niekamp.
And I'm Britni Hillen.
We did our project over Microsoft. If you'd like to pull up the PowerPoint and follow along, we're going to refer to the slides that we are on. Slide 1 is Company Overview.
Founded in 1975, Microsoft is the worldwide leader in software, services, and solutions that empowers and enriches people in the workplace, at school, and at home. Microsoft was founded by Paul Allen and Bill Gates in Allen's hometown in Mexico. The first personal computer kit, the Alatar, is what sparked these two founders to take business to the next level. From the very first Microsoft Windows version 1.0 to the latest Microsoft's Windows 8, this software has begun to change the way people work. Microsoft's core products range from Windows PC operating system and the Office suite to enterprise applications, video games, and digital music players. Microsoft offers its products in 30 different languages sold in more than 50 countries. Microsoft strives to produce innovative products and meet customers' growing needs. In slide 3, we will talk about Microsoft financial goals.
The financial goals of Microsoft include solid enterprise demand, strong multi-year licensing revenue growth, continued leadership in U.S. gaming console market.
In slide 4, we will discuss Microsoft's goals and objectives. According to Microsoft 2012 annual report, the focus areas for Microsoft in the upcoming year include developing new form factors that have increasingly natural ways to use them, including touch gestures and speech, making technology more intuitive and able to act on our behalf instead of at our command with machine learning, building and running cloud services in ways that unleash incredible new experiences and opportunities for businesses and individuals, firmly establishing one platform, Windows, across the PC, tablet, phone, server, and cloud to drive a thriving ecosystem of developers, unify the cross-device user experience, and increase agility when bringing new advancements to market, delivering new scenarios with life-changing improvements in how people learn, work, play, and interact with one another.
On slide 5 of our PowerPoint, you'll see the financial statements. For our project, we covered the balance sheet, the income statement, and the statement of cash flows. Financial statements include these 3 statements. All 3 statements are prepared from the same accounting data, but each statement serves its own purpose. The balance sheet is a snapshot of a business's financial condition at a specific moment in time. The accounting definition of a balance sheet is assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. The income statement measures performance over a specific period of time. The accounting definition of an income statement is revenue minus expenses equals income. The cash flow statement is used to report the sources and uses of cash during the reporting period. Most statements of cash flow contain cash flows from operation activities, cash flow from investing activities, and cash flow from financing activities.
In slide 6, we will talk about financial ratios.
Financial ratios provide numbers to compare and investigate the relationships between different pieces of financial information. Financial ratios are useful indicators of the firm's performance and financial situation. Most ratios can be calculated from information provided by the financial statements. Financial ratios can be used to analyze trends within a company and can be used to compare the firm's financials to those of other firms. Also, financial ratios can be used to compare the strengths and weaknesses of various companies. On slide 7, we will provide an example of profitability. The return on assets ratio is considered an overall measure of profitability. The return on assets ratio is a measure of profit per dollar of assets. Return on assets can be calculated by dividing the net income of Microsoft, which is $16,978, by total assets of $121,271. Therefore, Microsoft's return on assets is 14%. This shows the rate of return after tax being earned on all Microsoft's assets. Therefore, Microsoft's favorable return on assets mean it is using the stakeholders' assets efficiently. On slide 8 of the PowerPoint, we cover example of liquidity. Accounting liquidity refers to the ease and quickness with which assets can be converted to cash. Liquidity measures, sometimes referred to as short-term solvency ratios, are intended to provide information about a firm's liquidity. Liquidity ratios measure the ability of a company to repay its short-term debts and meet unexpected cash needs. One of the best known and widely used ratios is the current ratio. Because current assets and liabilities are converted to cash over the following 12 months, the current ratio is a measure of short-term liquidity. The current ratio for Microsoft as of June 2012 is 2.6 times. This was computed by dividing Microsoft's current assets of $85,084 by its current liabilities of $32,688. This means that Microsoft has its current liabilities covered 2.6 times over, or it has $2.60 in current assets for every $1 in current liabilities. To the firm, a high current ratio indicates liquidity. Britni is going to cover slide number 9, example of debt.
Debt ratios or long-term solvency measures are intended to aim at long-term goals in meeting the corporation's obligations or its financial leverage. The measures give an idea to the leverage of the company along with the potential risks the company faces in terms of its debt load. One measure of debt is the total debt ratio. The debt ratio gives a quick measure of the amount of the debt that the company has on its balance sheets compared to its assets. The total debt ratio is calculated by total assets of $85,084 minus total equity of $66,363 and then dividing the difference by total assets. Microsoft has 22 cents in debt for every dollar in assets. In slide 10, I will give an example of asset activity. By observing Microsoft Corporation's asset activity, one can determine whether or not Microsoft is efficiently using its assets. One measure of asset activity is inventory turnover. The inventory turnover is computed by taking the cost of goods sold of $17,530 divided by the inventory of $1,137. The result is 15.4 times. This means that the Microsoft turned over the entire inventory 15.4 times during the year. The higher the ratio is, the more efficiently the company is at managing the inventory. Microsoft Corporation proves to be efficient at managing its inventory.
On slide 11, we have an example of market value for Microsoft. The information needed for market value measures are not always found on the financial statements. In order to calculate some market value ratios, one must first determine the EPS, or earnings per share. The earnings per share is the portion of the company's profit allocated to each outstanding share of common stock. In order to calculate the EPS, one must know the shares outstanding, which cannot be determined from the financial statements. According to finance.yahoo.com, the shares outstanding for Microsoft Corporation as of June 2012 was 8,385 million. With this information, the earnings per share is calculated by taking the net income of 16,978 divided by the outstanding shares of 8,385. The result is $2.02.
On slide 12, I will talk about the trend analysis for Microsoft Corporation. One important goal of an accountant in a corporation such as Microsoft is to report financial information to the user in a form useful for decision making. One thing users might do is try to compare their financial statements to that of another company. This isn't always easy because of the differences in the size of companies. Therefore, the balance sheet and the income statement are either common size or calculated against each other using financial ratios. The base year, June 2008, trend percentage is 100%. You'll see that on the right-hand side of the trend analysis chart. A trend percentage of less than 100% means that the balance has decreased below the base year level in that particular year. A trend percentage that is greater than 100 means that the balance in that year has increased over the base year. For Microsoft Corporation, the cash and equivalents has decreased 67.11% over the 5-year period, while the inventories have increased 15.43%, and current liabilities have also increased by 9.38%. At the end of 2011, the gross operating profit had increased by 12%, but the operating income increased almost 21%. These 2011 trend percentages reflect a favorable impact on net income because sales increased at a faster rate than costs. In slide 13, I'll talk about Microsoft's future financial performance. As Microsoft continues to produce new products and update versions of their successful software, I think that the revenue growth will expand in future years because of their increasingly new products and services, enterprise strength, and key product launches within its corporation. With Microsoft's strong multi-year licensing revenue growth and continued leadership position in the U.S. gaming console market, I think their future financial performance will only get stronger and more powerful. The trend analysis allows investors or other users to predict the future values of such variables such as revenues or net income with some accuracy. One can notice in Microsoft's trend analysis for 2011, revenue increased tremendously. According to the Microsoft Investor Relations, this was primarily due to strong sales of the Xbox 360 entertainment platform, the 2010 Microsoft Office system, and server and tools products, offset in part by lower Windows revenue. In order for Microsoft to continue to accelerate in the technology industry, it must leverage the scholarly power and bind the inspired force of highly trained individuals to provide great support for such a great company.
On slide 14 of our PowerPoint, we talk about if we would lend money to Microsoft. By lending a company money, one would be investing in a bond. Companies and governments issue bonds to fund specific operations or projects. When a person buys a bond, he or she is loaning money to the issuer for a certain period of time. In return, bondholders get back the loan amount plus interest payments when the bond matures. Bonds can play a role in a well-balanced investment portfolio, but bonds can provide risks as well. A bond is only as solid as the company that issues it. In the case with Microsoft, Team 2 feels that we would lend money to Microsoft Corporation in the form of a bond. As discussed earlier, Microsoft Corporation is a very steady company. All financial ratios that were computed prove to show that the company is in good financial standing and that management is effectively running the business. As of June 2012, Microsoft had a good return on assets of 14% and a good return on equity of 25%. There was also 78 cents in equity for every 22 cents in debt. These financial ratios prove that lending money to Microsoft would be acceptable. On slide 15, we discussed if we would buy Microsoft stock. Team 2 agrees that we would. After viewing all aspects of Microsoft, Team 2 believes that we would invest in the company. Their financial analysis proves that Microsoft is in good standing and the future of Microsoft looks good as well. Thank you for listening to our presentation over Microsoft.